Aloha, everyone. My name is Manny Mattos, and welcome to Waimea Valley's presentation of Woods, Weapons, and Warriors. And first of all, before we get started, I would like to introduce the people that I work with. Of course, our cultural director, Kahua Mealani.
Aloha.
And well, she's our director, but these are the primary people that I work with every day. Casey and Baba.
Hello.
And presently now, because the valley is not open, we're working on the kauhalis. We're rebuilding the hollies in the valley. But when the valley opens again, then I'll be one of the cultural practitioners that works here. Today, like I say, I will be showing you some of the Hawaiian war weapons and implements that I have been making for over 20-something years. And a little bit of myself, I was born in Honolulu, Portuguese immigrants. And when I was 18, I met a young part Hawaiian Portuguese girl. Hawaiian Irish English girl that she lived in Waimea Valley. She comes from the family of Kanakaoli Kealanui. And we have been married for 60 years, and we have 5 sons, and her name is Rosalind Janet. And we have grandchildren, and about 20-something years ago, we initially adopted 2 of our youngest grandchildren, Lehaloha Ann and Keana Io Kekai. So that's a little bit of who I am. Of course, I want to acknowledge my granddaughter who was in Milton Hershey School along with my grandson. Her name is Sophia. She's a senior. And my son that lives in Wilkes-Barre. So they're all tuned in. I don't know about internets, but they're all tuned in. Okay, let's get started. First of all, if we understand or try to understand in my knowledge of Hawaiian weapons, it was taught to me about 30 years ago by a fellow policeman that we used to work together. One day he told me to come to my house. I'm going to make a Hawaiian war weapon. So I said, oh, okay, what is that? So anyway, he introduced me to the art of making Hawaiian war weapons. So and after that, I did a lot of research on my own and just taught myself the different things about Hawaiian war weapons and how they were made and the purpose of each weapon. But what really got me involved in making these weapons is I was more interested in the woods that they were made from. Very rare endemic dryland woods that grew no place else in the world but in the Hawaiian Islands. So that's what I'll be showing you today, all the weapons that I have made from these rare and endemic woods and not so rare woods. But first of all, we have to understand the tools that was available to the native Hawaiians. Throughout Polynesia, they were the brightest, smartest, intelligent, creative of all Polynesian people. They were experts in every aspect they knew their environment, they knew the ecology, they knew whatever was there around them. And they were so adaptable to everything that was around them. They were self-taught. They learned about things that was in their environment. So when they came to Hawaii, they found these woods that had already been growing for tens of thousands of years. So they used these woods as part of their culture and every aspect of their culture. And these are the woods that I'm going to be showing you. So being a woodworker, all these woods are made by modern day bandsaws, skill saws, sanders, but go back 800 years, 600 years, and imagine how would they manufacture this? How would they cut the trees that were used to make all these weapons and tools and hollies? So I'm going to begin with that. So if we can move a little bit to the right, I will show you basically the type of tools that they would use. Basically, like in Polynesian culture, they were a Stone Age culture. They dealt with pohaku, stone, but not all pohaku is alike. There's different grades, like different grades of metal material. And they were quick to find out the different grades that they were dealing with. Just to give you an example, this is a normal piece of pohaku. You see, it's very porous. It has a lot of holes in it. This is the exact piece of pohaku, but it's smooth like granite. It could be polished to a high definition. So when they found this, they choose this type of pohaku because it was strong, it was durable to make the adze that was needed. And in Polynesian culture, the adze was the most important tool that existed in Polynesian culture. But then I want to go a little bit more further. Why did this basalt pohaku different from this one here? What happened? What caused this one to have a lot of holes in it and this one not? So just to give you an example, people who live on Oahu, they would find this condition of pohaku in certain areas under certain conditions that it evolved in the geological activities of. So what happened is, just to give an example, if you guys know where Ponoho School is, the football field, right above that, there's a small little cinder cone. And in that cinder cone, the lava was fluid. It was just a lava lake. And it just bubbled and bubbled and bubbled for hundreds of years. And as it was bubbling, just like you cooking stew, all the gases were being released. So one day, that cinder cone overflowed and it flowed towards St. Louis Heights. And as it flowed towards St. Louis Heights, you had pohaku that was solid. So when the pohaku solidified, there was no gas in it. So there was no gas to escape. So the rock became solid. If you had gas in it, it would bubble up and it became weak. And that area literally dammed Manoa Valley. That's why if you go in Manoa Valley, Manoa Stream comes down, all of a sudden it makes a 90-degree left, and it reaches St. Louis Heights, it makes a 90-degree right. Because that lava was so strong, so hard, the river couldn't cut it away. So it just followed its natural state. And so in about the late 1800s, the city needed hard pohaku like this for gravel, for cement. So they went what is called Mo'ili'ili Quarry, the present-day lower campus of University of Hawaii. And they started to harvest that huge amount of solid pohaku. And they did it for over 50 years. It ended in 1948, where they were actually coming up to the edge of University of Hawaii, so they had to stop. So they ceased, but all the pohaku that came from there for over 50 years was used in Hawaii. So a lot of the curbings that was done, the old curbings that you see along the side, along the roads, those solid pohaku came from Mo'ili'ili Quarry. So, but it's not confined to this island. On a big island, we have the famous adze quarry up in Mauna Kea. There's an adze quarry in Waihole. There's an adze quarry in Waianae. So every island had their geological event that produces something like this. So with this, they would make the adze. This particular adze is mine, and it has a story. Everything on this table has a story. When I was a policeman about 40 years ago, they was digging a water line in the front of Pilila'au Park in Waianae. They were down about 10 feet, all sand, and I see this object stuck in a wall. So I look at it, oh, it's kind of out of place. So I jumped on the ladder, dived, walked down, pulled this out, and this is what I found. This beautiful adze. It's not completed, but in excellent shape that needed to be grinded. So this was given to me before I even realized what I had to do as an artist. These two particular adze here, you notice the different size. This one here came from Waimea Valley. This is a huge adze. It was probably used for agriculture or to make large canoes. This is a beautiful piece. This is a smaller one. So you can tell this one was used many times because the edges is already broken off. And this was also found in Waimea Valley. Now, how did they chip away this hard pohaku? I found this at the mouth of Waihole Stream. My brother-in-law used to live there 40 years ago. And there was an old Hawaiian house that was just had the pohaku left. And I was walking on and I found this lying on the ground. So what they did is they would smooth off this end here. It would become a little chisel, and they would use this to chip away the pohaku to make these adze. So, and even small as this ad here, this is the same pohaku. This ad came from a cave in North Kona, and this ad came from Kalapana. So it would be as small as this to do intricate work. You got to remember, they were a Stone Age culture, so they dealt in stone and woods. This here is what you see on the side here. They're llama, and whenever I put my weapons out, I would put these two pieces to signify enlightening. This is the male figure. This is the female figure. You know, female is a little bit more curvy, hopefully. And the male figure is masculine, right? Okay. Well, right in front of me here is, I think, two of my really pieces that I really care about. Majority of the pieces here, they are made of two different types of endemic woods, Koila and uhi uhi. I was fortunate enough about 12 years ago to get granted a permit to go into Pu'uwawa and harvest this wood for my cultural. And they gave me a permit. So I was able to go there and harvest all these woods. But this particular piece is special to me because one day I was at my friend's workshop, Dan Deluge, in above Kiao. And this guy came in, his friend. He said, "Hey, Dan, I found this log." So Dan said, "Oh, where you got the log?" "Oh, I was up on a corner, hilo side of Saddle Road. I was digging a manhole for what is it called? Sewer. So I had to bust through about 14 feet of lava, and I hit mud flat, and I snagged this log. So he brought it, and you could still smell the burntness. And so I said, "You sure it was on the hilo side of Saddle Road?" He said, "Yeah." So after he finished digging the cesspool, he brought this log to Dan. So Dan looked at it, "Oh, this is uhi uhi." We cut the edge off, it was uhi uhi. And I thought to myself, wow, uhi uhi is a dry land wood. It doesn't grow on the hilo side of Saddle Road. So this wood must be very, very old. Maybe, you know, when the climate had changed a little bit. So he took the wood and he turned this little uhi uhi bowl. But the wood was so hard that he gave up. He said, "Man, the wood is too hard. I'm not gonna." So he gave me this bowl and he gave me the wood. So with this particular wood, I made my first weapon out of uhi uhi, and it was this one here. And the wood was exceptionally hard, but this was my first leomano, nihu leomano, that I made out of this wood here. And out of that particular piece, I was able to make about 3 or 4 leomanos from that wood. And I wasn't satisfied, so I wanted more wood. A woodworker is never satisfied. So that's when I applied for a permit. When I went up to Pu'uwawa, I was able to harvest 2 Koila trees. They were dead, of course. So I harvested and I took it back. And with those 2 trees, I made all the different leomanos and nevas and ohoas that you see here. But this particular piece is, you're not going to find this anyplace. This is a piece of uhi, and it's so heavy I cannot pick it up. You know, it probably weighs about 80 pounds. And how I got this one, there was a brush fire in Puvawa, which is responsible for killing most of your endemic trees. So I figured if there was a brush fire there must have been some endemic woods. So I called the LNR, my friend who was working on that. I said, it was a brush fire. Was any endemic wood burnt? She checked and said, yeah, there was one uhi tree that was partially burnt. So they cut it and they took it to the Waimea yard. So I said, can I have the wood? She says, oh, let me check. So she called the guy there and they said, no, nobody can pick up this wood. So I called her back. I said, oh, they don't want to give it to anybody. She said, I'll take care of it. So she called them and said, you give this wood to Uncle Manny. So I went down there and finally he had to agree. But this is a huge piece. Wow. And you can see the bark, the wood. I painted it so it doesn't crack. But this tree alone must be about 300 years old. And it was still alive. It was still growing. So I'm not going to disturb this in any way. But you can imagine all these woods were cut from a simple adze tool, a chisel, something like this and something like this. This is made out of Koila, which normally would be made out of the pohako. They would use the pohako as their chisels. This one here was actually a ulu splicer to splice the ulu. Okay, now let's get on to the weapons and the art of lua. You know, to really go into lua in depth, it's going to take a lot of time. So what I'll do is I'll just explain each piece as we go along, the type of wood and what they were used for. So let's start with the this piece here. If you look at it, it looks like bone, right? Okay, it is bone. It's actually a part of a rib bone from a sperm whale. It was given to me by Noah. And let me tell you, they had to go to an act of Congress to get this to me. But I use this as part of my demonstration of how they would incorporate things of nature and mammals and whatever that was in their environment to use as weapons, but not only as weapons, but things that they would use in everyday life. So this is made out of bone. Let me go over the regular woods first. This particular piece here is made out of coal. And the reason why I'm doing this is I wanted to show all the kids that I talked to how each wood and how it would apply to their culture. Obviously, they never make weapons out of coal. Coal was used only for food utensils, bowls. But I wanted to show them because if I just showed them a piece of wood, their span of attention would be a minute or 2 minutes. But if I made a weapon out of it, I could hold their attention for as long as I want. So in this one here, you can see even the sap from the coal wood seeped into the tiger shark teeth. So since I'm on tiger shark teeth, let's jump back to this. I have here some tiger shark teeth, and I have some great white teeth. There was the two teeth that they would use as far as cutting. This was a great white. This was the tiger. In Hawaii, these are the only two teeth that they would use: tiger shark and a great white, because it was abundant in the waters around here. But these teeth are special. I don't use these teeth because today this teeth is very rare. It's about 1 5/16, little less than 1.5 inches. They measure it from here to here, and it's very rare, because they don't let the tiger sharks grow up big enough, and there's not enough of them left. So in the old days, they would grow very old and very large. These three here are even more rare. This tiger shark teeth is 1.5 inches long from this point to this point, and you don't find 1.5 inch tiger shark teeth. So I never used these three. In all my 30 years, this is the only three that I was able to get. So, but in Kahiko times, before the white man came, these teeth were abundant. So the core warrior would have access to all these teeth. But it's funny because the core warriors, very few of them were allowed to kill the sharks. Only specialized warriors, elite class warriors. But the other lower class warriors would have the teeth given to them by a kahuna whose job was only to carry and kill tiger shark for the teeth. And he would use different things, even human flesh would be part of his bait. So, okay. Now the other different woods that we have here. This is mamani, and it would use for spears, everyday woods for the hollies, because the Native Hawaiians would use whatever was in their area to build their houses, their hollies. If there was ui, there was Koila, there was mamani, there was uhia. Those are the woods that they would use. This is mamani, and this is what I made a weapon out of this one here. This is another native woods, Milo. Milo wasn't used for too many things. It gave a lot of shade. It gave a lot of shade to the beach areas because it grew primarily on the ocean front. So, and it was a softwood. So they didn't value it that much. So today is used for bowls, things that are really nice. This one here, yeah. This is Nayo. Nayo is kind of a false sandalwood. It has the same aroma, but the aroma doesn't last as long as a true Iliahi sandalwood. So I had a weapon, but I used a teeth for something else. So this is Nayo. Then I have this one here. Yeah, no, this one. Yeah, this is really not a native wood. It's kiavi. So I made a leomano just to show you what kiavi looks like. So it wasn't used until after kiavi was introduced by a Catholic priest back in the 1800s. And it became a source of cattle food. The beans would drop and it just spread like wildfire. So that's why kiavi is so abundant. This is another endemic wood, ala'a. It's found only in the Kona side, Waikoloa. Kamehameha School property has a lot of ala'a. But this wood wasn't used because it's very unstable. It cracks. It moves a lot and it cracks. So they would probably only use this for fire, to make fire, to heat up the pohaku. So, what else do I have here? Okay. Now let's get into this one here. Yeah. Come on, girl, you got it. Okay. This wood, this piece was given to me by a wood, not a woodworker, but he had some kind of shop that he had. This is actually how you make, lauhala. This is the tree, but it's a male lauhala. It's very dense. It looks like coconut, but it's actually how. I think we have a couple of how trees. Hala. It's actually called hala, but I call them how. How, I don't know. But this, I made a weapon to strictly show how hala looks like. Okay, now let's get on to the endemic pieces. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I charge $10 a question. Okay, Lua, the warriors, the people that I would compare a core warrior to an elite group of fighters today that you can more or less relate to, like SEALs, the elite forces in Navy, the Army, Rangers. They were elite fighters that were trained from childhood in the art of Lua. And it was a very rigorous way of living. And it was a special forces that the Ali'i would depend on to defend his territory or to conquer other territories. But they were a warlike people. And I know people don't like to dwell on that, but it was a fact of life that Hawaiians were warriors, and they engaged in war, like any other culture and any other type of people. Ambition, the lust for power, was in their blood also. But their type of fighting was different from the other Polynesian. They had developed this art of lua, which close combat, hand-to-hand combat, bone breaking, very brutal type of fighting. And you had to be a very strong, able warrior to be part of that. You had to constantly be in that type of shape. So they would use all these woods. Now you can imagine a young warrior wanting to make a weapon that's made out of Koila uhi uhi. He would grab his set of tools, adze, woods, and he would go into the dryland forest and he would pick a tree and he would stay there and he would pound a stone chisel on his tree that bends and breaks my bandsaw blades. So he had a lot of patience and a lot of skill, but he would eventually take that tree down, cut it, carve it, and make weapons like this. And you can just look at it and you think to yourself, wow, the skill that was involved in this, the patience that was involved in it, even drilling the holes in the niho, the teeth. It was time consuming, and it was really a piece of artwork. And that some of them, they would use the bare woods and they wouldn't polish it, but all of them and majority of them were, you mind if I would again? They would polish it with a stone grinder, different sizes of stone grinder, different purposes. They would smoother and smoother and smoother stones. Eventually they got it to where they would polish it, very high polish. And it just was a type of skill that no other Polynesian had. They were the only ones in all of Polynesia that would incorporate the shark teeth and the great white teeth. The other Polynesian people would create only bludgeon weapons and spears, bludgeon weapons. They developed a type of art that would cut flesh, would kill. Okay, the different woods. Okay, the one under here, yeah. This is llama. Llama, you notice, is the same material that I have here. Llama signifies enlightenment. So llama was a wood that they wouldn't use to make weapons, really. It's more of a spiritual wood for them. It was a wood that they would use to enlighten their minds of their culture, the kupuna around them. And this signifies enlightenment. So when you see a piece of llama so looked upon as sacred, it would be on their altar within the lua compound, would have llama as part of the offering. Before you enter the lua compound, you would have a llama log in front of it with a co-warrior guarding it, because llama was considered so sacred as far as enlightenment. So, but this one I made Maori patu, and I have another one that I made leo mana with. Where did it go? Oh, here. This one here, I made a niho leo mana, and a beautiful wood. And this wood was given to me by my son on a big island. I have about 4 or 5 logs that I got to bring, but they're all llama like this. But you see, some of the llama doesn't have these characteristics. It depends what the llama is grown and the environment. But these ones are really, 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 really nice. So, oh, thank you. Oh, I have a special piece there that never, yeah. When I was up in Puvawa harvesting endemic woods, there was this tree with beautiful flowers flowing down. And I didn't know what it was, because I didn't learn about this. I on the job training, on the job education. So I asked the guy from Department of Land and Natural, what kind of tree that? He told me, that's a true Hawaiian halapepe. Beautiful flowers. So it just happened, had one piece that was on the ground. So I took this piece of halapepe, and it's very light, and it wasn't used for anything. I think only the beautiful flowers was used. This is halapepe, so I have this. Okay, now, gotta excuse me, because those I'm gonna save for last. Each weapon here has a purpose. Okay, we're going back 800 to 1,000 years. When Lua was first not created, but in a sense developed, a slow, gradual development of Lua, the art of Lua. The weapons that were used were basically small like this, very small in stature, a few teeth, maybe 3, 4, 8, 6 teeth at the most. And according to Olohi Mitchell Eli, the reason for this is because being a co-warrior, you have to be very spiritual. Your ancestors, and even the mana from the people that you're killing is very special. So when one warrior would kill another warrior, his concept or his belief that the person's spirit came into my weapon that I slain. And so with this in mind, it just evolved where at some point the warrior said, well, if I kill a lot of warriors, no more too much mana can come in his weapon. It's small. So what did he do? He increased the size of his weapon. He increased the size of his weapon gradually, so more mana would come in to his weapon. So he would be able to hold more mana until it finally, in all evidence that we have, this is about as big as the weapons that you have. And this piece is very special. In fact, I don't know if this is the only one that exists. This teeth here you see is all ancient 5/16. And it's the only weapon that I use, the ancient 5/16, that and the Koila one. This is ui. And this one, I was fortunate enough when I went up there, I found a ui tree. And that's the only one that I was allowed to, but it was already dead. So I harvested that tree. And this is the only piece that I was able to salvage that was this wide. In fact, when I was doing that, about 20 yards away, I see this big black log lying horizontal on the ground. So I walked over there and was a uhi log. Stump was about like that. So we know they grow that big. And it was lying on the ground. So I thought it was dead. So I turned to the guy, I'm gonna harvest this log. He tell me, oh, okay. Because they just, for some reason, Akua was me. They was letting me take whatever I needed, right? So I'm walking on a log, thinking, I can cut the log from here. And I walk about halfway, get this little shoot coming out. Oh, I look at him, I said, oh, darn it, this damn tree is still alive. Had one shoot shooting up from the ui. And I turned to the guy from the other house. I said, I can't harvest this log. Tell me why. The darn thing, Roy. So that was my opportunity to do that. But the one I had harvested, all these ui came from that particular tree. It was enough for me to make spears, pololu, and all the weapons that you see here. But this piece is dear to my heart. It's made out of ui. This is probably the only one that I think exists. I might be wrong, but it's all ancient 5/16. But the other one that I have is made out of Koila. This is Koila also. It's a niholeo mano, shaped in the same canoe paddle design. This teeth is a little bit smaller. And this one was one of the first ones that I made. And this was used. And since I got this one, got the stented on. So it be used as a slashing. And because of the weight of these woods, just the weight of the loan would be heavy enough just to cut your muscle and tissue. No effort, strength needed to be used. So, and when I show this to a lot of people, they said, "Oh, this is a nice one." I said, "How does it work?" Well, you just wrap this around your hand, right? And you like this. This was to keep it from getting away from. I said, "Well, that's what I taught initially. You do it like this, and you do it this way." No, Alohi Mitchell said, "Manny, no, put it in a thumb, wrap it around your hand, and you use it as a weapon." So I figured it out. I said, "Oh, wow, yeah." Because if for some reason your enemy gets a hold of this weapon, you're struggling, right? He pulls it away from you, you're free to grab a supplementary weapon that you have. You always would have a supplementary weapon. So this is the reason why they never put it around their wrist. It would be in their thumb, wrap it around their wrist and put it this way. Thank you. Assistant to the assistant. Let me see, where are we? Okay. So we know we got from this size to that size. And everything in between is bonus. Yeah. Let me jump to this one. This one would be what's called a Pikoi. And what's unique about this one, and in all of Polynesia, the Hawaiians, Native Hawaiians, sorry if I were the only ones that developed this Pikoi, this weapon of war. And this weapon was chosen to be the favorite weapon of the women warriors that existed. And especially the women of Kauai, they were skilled at. And the main thing with this weapon is they would swing it, bounce it on the ground. They had an art of wrapping it around your leg, and they would trip you. And when they would trip you, then the warriors would run in and finish the job. The woman would stand back and let the guy, "You go get him, I got him for you already." So this is a Pikoi. It's made out of Koila. I have one at home that I'm making out of uhi. And I'll be some of these weapons here, before I forget, will be part of the Waimea Valley, because KC and the staff will be developing they're going to be a dryland tour of all the dryland woods. So Casey and guys, so I'm going to be leaving some of this weapons. So when she goes through the tour, she can actually physically show the people the tree and the weapons that they were used for. So this one here, no, give me that one there. Yeah, that's it. This is a good one. I found this in the Emerson book, because that's why I learned a lot of my education was from the Emerson collection book. And this one was interesting because what this is not really a weapon. What it was is when the men and women would work in the lo'is, they would wrap this around their waist and it would be hanging in their waist. So when they're working in the lo'is, in the taro, when they were harvesting the taro, they pull the taro out, and this would be just like a little chisel. They would tip off the top part of the kalo, because they didn't have metal. So they would use the hard Koila, ui wood, as a chisel. And once sliced, it would come off, and they would put it around their waist again and continue working. So I figure I made one of these so that I can use it, that I found in the Emerson book. Okay. Yeah. This particular piece here, this is a piece of Koila. It's just a piece of branch, but in the art of Lua, you had elite fighters. Then what the elite would do is he would go to the community and he would pull farmers, whatever people he needed to make the numbers, so that he would have an army big enough to fight the enemy. And most of these people weren't skilled in Lua. So he would have what was called like a boot camp, in a sense. For a certain period of time, he would teach these people basic things about fighting. And their weapons would be something like this: cut a piece of Koila, make a poho, a dagger, wrap it around, and this would be the guy's weapons. But being a common worker or a commoner would be no match for a Lua warrior. He wouldn't last seconds. fighting a skilled Lua warrior. This is unique. I found this. This is the Hawaiian version of a knuckle buster. Not a knuckle buster, but a brass knuckle. So if you look at it, it would be like this. They would wrap it around their hand, and fighting, it would be used as a slashing weapon. This would be a supplementary weapon. More of a, I don't think they would rely on this because it wasn't as devastating, only as a supplementary weapon. This is, according to Alohi Mitchell, this was his favorite weapon, and is a strangling cord. Because in Native Hawaiian culture, the official form of execution was strangulation. And the official strangler was the mu. He would be by the ali at all times, and his job was, if the ali say you die, he would strangle you to death right there. So this is Koila, and this was the official form. And in some instances, they would grab the prisoner, put a large olana or how rope around his neck, pull him to the tree and strangle him, or they would hold him and plunge him to death. So it was swift, but it was brutal, but that was part of their culture. Okay, this weapon here, this is unique. I made it out of Koila, but the actual weapon was made out of pohaku, exactly like this, shaped like this, a bow tie, right? But this weapon was used as a close combat weapon. This way, strictly head, vital parts of the body where they could immobilize a person, but it was made out of pohaku. And it was very efficient. If you were a skilled Lua fighter, just this alone, and your skill in Lua would be able to defeat any opponent. And in fact, story goes, I read that in Emerson's book also, is one day we log came ashore on the Hana side of Maui, and this type of wood sinks in salt water. So what I think is the wood had enough branches and leaves on it that kept it afloat, where it reached the shore of Hana, and they recognized this wood of what it was valuable, and they placed it on a heiau, Pi'ilani heiau, for Kamehameha the Great. So he got wind of it, and he ordered this wood, a tree, to be cut in sections and given to his favorite ali'is, or his ikanis, as a gift. And one of them, ali'i, was Hema. And the story of Hema is very interesting. Hema wasn't born an ali'i. Hema was actually the servant of Kamehameha the Great, his personal servant. And actually his job was many jobs. But one of his jobs was, because Kamehameha and all ali'is, because of the religious aspect of it, they would not allow their enemies to get any extractions from them. Blood, urine, fecal matter was all done in this bowl. And it was his most trusted person that he trusts before anybody else, because he knew if that got into the wrong hands, they would pray him to death. So his job was to keep sole possession of that calabash, and every evening he would rinse it in the ocean in salt water. So Hema was probably one of many things, but this is probably one of the things that he did. But one day, Kamehameha was at a skirmish with his enemies. And the story was that he was fighting his enemies in a narrow area. And after fighting for quite a while, he was getting tired, and he was starting to lose ground and lose the battle. So the legend is Hema grabbed whatever weapon he had, he jumped in front of Kamehameha and he slayed all of them. So when Kamehameha saw this, he stepped back and said, wow. He said, Hema, from now on, you're an ali'i. You're not my servant. And Hema served along him in all the remaining battles that he had. And after these battles were ended, Hema, ali'i gave Hema a part of ui log, and Hema made a neva, something like this, that he made out of ui. And on his way from Kauai up to Waimea, and he was such a great, powerful Lua warrior. He must have been a huge man, to be able to defeat all those warriors without no Lua training. He probably when he was seeing how these guys fight, so he was smart at adapting. Said only with this neva he slain all 7 of those robbers. So this type of neva was probably the one that he shaped, made out of Koila. This neva is unique because this is also Koila, and there's a story behind this one. So this is real human wisdom teeth. What? Yeah. This is real human wisdom teeth. I got some more at home. So how did I get these teeth? Okay, about 15, 18 years ago, we're living on a big island now. We're at the farmer's market, and this old haole lady, she came to our stall, and we started to talk. So I explained to her this and this and that. So I showed my stuff. I said, well, in some of the pieces in the museum, there's real human teeth inside. So she tells me, oh, I still get my wisdom teeth and everything at home. You want it? I said, what? She said, yeah, I saved it all. I said, okay. So she went home, back to New York. She mailed me all her teeth. Her wisdom teeth. Oh, I got about 7 or 8 teeth that she was keeping. And I'm starting to put it in the weapons. So this is Caucasian white female teeth that I slain to put in my weapon. I didn't even accomplish this by killing anybody. She just gave it to me. So this is the neva also out of Koila.
250, by the way.
Huh?
250, by the way.
250. Well, I've been talking for that minute long already. I better hurry up then. Okay. Okay. This is probably my rarest piece that I have, and this whatever you see that I'm talking about, the trees exist in the valley. Even this one, it's maua, and I don't know how I got this piece, but you can tell how it died in a brush fire. The majority of all these trees now in Puva die in brush fires from the fountain grass and the goats that are there. So this piece of maua, beautiful wood. I even forgot I had it until I took it out last night. Oh, I got a piece of maua. There's two trees up here, which Casey would be showing. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful flowers. But this is maua, and it was never used for anything as far as I can find. I only get 10 minutes, right? Yeah. Okay. This is the first niholemano that I made about 15 years ago. Koila. And this is the one that you see on my card, one of the cards. This one here, you also see in the card. This is koa. We all know about koa. This is koa, acacia koa. This one is a beautiful piece. It's burl koa, and it comes from the bottom part, more or less the trunk of the tree, the root area. So it was given to me by my friend in Kona. So I made a leomano like this, just to show. These 2 pieces here. The original came from Kauai, and the original was made out of Koila, and it's about this long, and it's in the Bishop Museum. But all that's left now is very little fragments of red bird feathers. And this one was made by my friend Kimura in Waimea, noted feather maker. But the unique thing about this one here is when I first saw the picture, I see this thin layer of on top of the wood itself. And I looked closer, and what it was bird skin. So what they had done, they skinned the bird with the bird skin and the feathers on top and made a decorative. And for some reason, I don't know what it was used for. I think it was more of a ceremonial because these are ali'i feathers. And the original piece that was painted, they had a tail feathers here, but that has long disappeared because I mean, Bishop Museum never take good care of it. I presume. This is Koila, this is uhi uhi.
We have a question from the chat. They
Yeah.
want to know the durability and strength of the wood and how long it would hold up over time and with battles.
What is that?
The durability and strength of the wood and how long it holds up over time and with battles.
Oh, okay. Just so the question was, oh, you said it already, right? How long does this wood last? Well, there's fence posts on the Big Island, cattle fence posts that were there for 200 years. They don't deteriorate after time. In fact, they get stronger. And my son just gave me a piece. They sent it to me from the Big Island. It was koia. It was a dry land core. And it came from a fence post that was there for 200 years. And this is part of it here. It's just as strong and durable as when it was first put in. So even in dry weather, it could last relatively hundreds and hundreds of years. So as long as the termites don't get to it, but it's so hard that termites jaw break. So I don't think they're gonna eat them.
What about battles?
Battles?
Yeah.
Oh, the wood wouldn't break. The teeth would break because the wood was very durable, and the only ones that probably would break would be the spears, the pololus. They would break, and even something like this is made out of ui. This probably wouldn't break because this is just a stabbing weapon. But very rarely would the weapons fail in combat. But that's the reason why they chose these weapons, this wood, because they're very durable, very, very durable. Before I forget, we gotta bring the kopuna inside this. Okay, this particular weapon, it's made out of Koila, but it's hollow inside. So you would think this would fail a lot more in combat, right? You're fighting, but this weapon was used more by the older warriors because they had a function also. They probably weren't on the front lines. They were behind, and their job was to come in after, as the battle would move on to a different location. The job was to come in, lean over, and stay as far away as the enemy was on the ground, and sever the jugular vein or cut the throat, because they didn't want to get too close to them, because the enemy might have had one last breath and use one of his supplementary weapons to kill. So this was used more by the older Lua warriors that weren't able to keep up with the younger ones, so they would come back behind. Okay, now this I only got a little bit of time left. Let me get you on my main ones. Okay, this piece here is Koila. You look at this one. Should be the other one, yeah. Ponderosa, yeah. Yeah, this one. Okay, this particular, they're the same name, Koila, but this one is Calabrina pifisolia, and this one is the Ponderosa variety, in two entirely different species. But as far as the native Hawaiians are concerned, this was the same wood. But when the botanists came, they found out it was two separate species. So they named this one the Ponderosa variety, and this is the Calabrina variety. This is mostly found on Kauai. So I will be making that leomano with that. Now we're coming to what I consider my priceless pieces that I have. Oh, before I forget, remember I told you that dryland koia. This is how it looks like. It looks very plain, but it's very dense. And this only grows in the dryland area and on Oahu is extinct. Kauai is extinct. Only on the Big Island you can find a koia. There's one tree up in Manoa, but it was planted in the 30s. So, but that particular piece came from the Big Island. We have some koia in the valley, so that would be part of the tour. You know, that they'll be able to see this tree. My last pieces I'm going to show you. This is one of my beautiful pieces. This is ui ui. The wood is outstanding. The teeth is beautiful. This would be carried by Nali'i. We carry this one here. Now my last two pieces that I have here. Oh, one last piece before I jump in. You know what this is? This is actually a beak of a broad-billed swordfish, and this be used as a dagger. And a friend of mine on the Big Island said one day he was walking up above Keau in the Pahoa side, and he happened to go into a cave, and he found a skeleton of a pig with this inside. So apparently, one of the native Hawaiians killed the pig, stabbed the pig, and the pig ran off with his pahoa. And it was found 100 years later. And this is the beak of a broadbill. This piece here now is, this piece is one of my best piece that I made. This is ui ui. And the original piece is in Cambridge, England, in the Museum of Archaeology and Ethnographics. There's only one piece, only one of them was collected, and it's in the Cambridge. And in the original piece, this teeth is missing and this teeth is missing. So you know this weapon was used at some point in combat. But what's unique about this piece here is the teeth is all great white. It's all great white teeth from 1.5 inches down to 1 inch. So I made this one exactly like how the one in Cambridge, England was, because I wanted to make one like that so I can show the people how, so that we know the native Hawaiians would hunt the great white. They would hunt the tiger shark because a lot of weapons that they have were made. My last piece I'm going to show you is, I think, I was sitting down one day, I said, I had a large piece of ui ui left about that long. What am I going to do with it? So I said, you know what? I'm going to make my largest and best weapon of all out of what I consider the prime wood from native Hawaii is the ui ui. So I had this last large piece of uhi uhi, and I had all these great white teeth. So I shaped it, put it together, and this is the end result. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17 times 2 is what, 34? 34 great white teeth from 1 5/8 down to 1 inch. And I don't think there's anyone that exists in the world that's made like this. So I'm selling it for $500,000, right, Casey? We're half, no. But I think this piece really illustrates my love for the woods, my love for the native Hawaiian culture. You know, I tell my wife, I says, you know, we really were robbed. You really was robbed because she didn't really learn her Hawaiian culture, and then it was not her fault. But I'm learning it, and she's learning it. And my son, who is my oldest son, who is also a weapons maker, so he's showing me his willingness and eagerness to learn. So at least there's one person that's going to be perpetrating whatever I've learned in my life. But the valley here, really, Baba and Casey have really given me an opportunity to grow, especially when working at Kauhali with building hollies. I never thought I would be building hollies, you know, but the Koila and the administration gave us the permission to go and build the hollies. So this is what we've been doing. And unfortunately, we can't use the same woods that was used. But this woods here have really inspired me, you know, and it has brought me closer to the culture that I love. And I hope my kids, you know, learn to appreciate the culture that they have. And I guess my job is just to give them the opportunity to learn and to admire and to really understand the great culture that they have in their blood, is the Hawaiian culture. And like I say, every day I come here, I learn a little bit. I learn a little bit. Even if I'm getting up in age, I still learn. And that's the main thing that appeals to me, is I still have the ability to learn. I don't know Alzheimer's yet, but this valley gives me opportunity to learn. And are we out? Are we done?
You want to say bye to everybody? Thank you.
Huh?
Say bye and say thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I gotta say goodbye. Okay.
Bravo.
From hope I will get emotional, but being an immigrant, and exposed to Hawaiian culture. And before we end, there's one woman that really inspired me. My wife's grandmother, she was a beautiful kahuna, a good kahuna. She healed a lot of people. She gave advice to a lot of people, and she took me into her ohana. She took me into her ohana, and she basically let me live as a young man, intermingle with her family. She accepted me as part of her ohana, and I don't know if she knew, but she could see. She could see. And I didn't realize until later on in life that my love for the Hawaiian culture was this deep. And I want to thank mahalo for everybody. And don't stop here. Do research, learn more, especially if you're Native Hawaiian. And my grandchildren that I be proud of who you are. Be proud of who you are, where you came from. And my granddaughter, she wants to be a trauma surgeon. So hopefully one day she comes back and administer her Native Hawaiian culture, which is only 1/16 Native Hawaiian. And maybe that blood is stronger than the rest, hopefully. Mahalo to all of you. And thank you. Aloha.